talking about reactor blocks, and I got my keyboard here. I got this keyboard here. Good. We got things going. I forgot to set up my. I forgot to set up the audio channel default yesterday after I complained about it so hard. So if we have to make any audio channels today, I'm going to be complaining about it again. Actually, you know what? Before I start complaining about it, let me just do this here. Let me just set this like this. Okay, boom. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to a set as default audio track and hit yes. There we go. Good. Okay, so now I won't be complaining as much. It'll come up as that kind of thing there. Let's go ahead over here and put in Ty. How you doing, Ty? Good to have you with us. Excellent. All right, so this is Reaktor. We got it up and running. Let me just go ahead and start that up one more time here so it's captured on the video. I'm going to go ahead and get out of it here. Get rid of it. There we go. I'm going to drag it down here like this. Boom. Go ahead. Okay, good. So when you open up Reaktor or Reaktor Player, one of my students said he thinks it looks the same in Reaktor Player. You got Play and Patch. I don't think in Reaktor Player you're going to have Build. But what we want to use Patch. Because Patch is how you can make your own Reaktor blocks settings. Now, with Reaktor blocks in the player, you've got all of the normal kind of basic Reaktor blocks. These, where are they? In here, the blocks base. These ones here are ones that you have access to. You don't have access to any of these blocks primes, and these are ones that are extra ones. If you buy Reaktor, you get these extra ones. But we're going to do everything with Reaktor blocks base here today, and at first, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the other stuff as well. And I have downloaded a bunch of extra blocks. I haven't installed them, and I should do that. I don't really use blocks that much, but it is really cool, especially if you are interested in getting into modular synthesis and learning how all that works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make my screen all the way across the screen here so we have lots of space to work with. And basically, Reaktor blocks is modular synthesis, meaning, like we talked about the other day, if you watch the synthesizer lesson, Reaktor blocks is essentially like a modular synth means that you've got modules and you can add more modules in as you need them. And that's what Reaktor blocks is. It's just a synthesizer, a software version of modular synthesis. There are many different ways that you can do software versions of modular synthesis. There is a program called VCV, I think it's called VCV, that is also a modular synth. And that is, it's free actually. I mean, there's some paid parts of it, but it's free for the base starter part of it. And that's also really nice too. I actually prefer Reaktor blocks just because it works. I don't know, once you're used to Reaktor, it works really, really well. So anyway, this is what we're looking at here when we first started off. Yours may look a little bit different just if you're using the player. It may not have all this stuff. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get rid of a few of these things. I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to hit delete so we can start from the beginning. So all we have right here is audio in and audio out. And yours may or may not look like this. I'm not really sure. I don't remember what the Reaktor player looks like. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the utility over here on, hello, there we go. We're going to click on utility here. And this utility down here is going to show us some stuff down here in the bottom. I'm going to pull this up so we have more space to look at stuff. And I want to look at a couple things. Before we get going, we need to actually have a module that tells our keyboard to connect into things. And this is one of the things with modular synthesizers is you literally need a module for everything that you want to do. It's very much like building a car from scratch. So if you want to make the car go forward, well, you need to have an engine, obviously, but you also need to have like a gas pedal. You need to have things that connect the gas pedal. You need to have gas. You need to have a tank. You need to have wheels, all the stuff. You need to have a steering wheel. All these little parts that we kind of take for granted, you have to put them in here. Now, it doesn't mean that it's hard or difficult, really. It just means that you have to know a little bit about what you're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this note in thing right here, and we're going to drag that up in here like that, and it's going to put it right there. We can move this around. Once it's in here, we can kind of move this around, put this wherever we want. Like we could drag that there, we could drag this here, and this is kind of what I recommend doing here for stuff. I kind of like recommend having a little bit organized as you go. So we've got this note in right here. So we've got the audio in, we've got the audio out, and we've got the note in. The audio out goes to our speakers, so we need to have that one. The audio in is if you're building effects or if you want to bring in audio in from the outside world. You cannot get rid of it in the version that I've got. You can't get rid of it anyway. So I'm assuming it's the same way with the Reaktor player. So we're not going to even worry about it. We're just going to forget that it's there, really. So we got this one here. Actually, there's a little delete button. Let's see. We can just add inputs and outputs. That's all we can do. Okay, so we got the note in, and we still can't really do anything. Remember, what do we need to make our synthesizer? If we are making a synthesizer, remember that the main parts of stuff that we need, we talked about this the other day, there are 3 main parts that we need in a synthesizer. And we need the part that makes the sound, we need the part that subtracts out the harmonic frequencies, and then we need the part that makes it louder and softer. Those are the 3 main parts that we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab those out here. And the first part we need that makes the sound is the oscillator. We got the oscillator right here. Boom. There we go. There's our oscillator. Now, here's the thing. Yep, Carl, thank you very much. That's awesome. So here's the thing is that if I connect up this oscillator, remember the oscillator is Ramon, I got you already. Yep, and the filter and the amplifier. Absolutely. Awesome. Oh, Ramon, I didn't get you already. There you go. Sorry about that. Thought I did. So the only person we're missing right now is Mickey. Awesome. Okay, so the oscillator is constantly outputting sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. I'm going to turn the volume down on my... Hello? Oh no. Hold on one second. Why is this... Hold on, my push is not doing anything. Oh, there we go. Okay, so... Oh, I see why. Interesting. Okay. It's because I need to click, hold on, I need to click on Ableton Live in the background for this to do anything. Here we go. Or something like that. No, maybe not. Okay. Well, I'm just going to turn the volume down here. There we go. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm just going to connect this up from my input, from my output on my oscillator to my outputs on my speakers here. I'm just going to drag this up here so it's in the middle of things. There we go. I'm just going to drag the output, and now you can't hear it because the frequency is too low. But if I turn this frequency up, let's see. There we go. You can hear that. And if I change this right here, it's going to change the waveform. Like that. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm just going to turn that volume down on my mixer here. So you can see it's just outputting level. And if I'm just turning the volume up and down on my fader here, let me just make this a little bit smaller so they can see it. See that right here? I'm just adjusting that right there, and that's just a constant tone. And the reason why it's a constant tone is because that's what an oscillator does. It just outputs a constant tone. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these. There you go, because we don't need to listen to that the whole time. So if we want to shape that sound, the first thing we need to do is add in an envelope here, amplifier. So we're going to go ahead and grab this amplifier here, boom. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag over my connection, and I'm just going to connect these up. So I'm just going to click and drag over from here to here, so it connects up. And then I'm going to go from my output here to this one here. And now this is going to have some starting and stopping. So if I turn the level up, we can see down here, it's no longer outputting the sound the same way. If I want to hear it, I need to turn the level up right here. So that's controlling my loudness level right there. Okay, it's not very interesting. If I want to make it start and stop, what I have to do is I have to connect over here my note in from my keyboard so I can play my keyboard and make it start and stop. And that's over here with the gate right here. Where's the pup? There's the pup. I got the gate right here, and the gate what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this gate up to the amplifier here. So when I hit the key, it's going to send a gate on and off message to my amplifier right here. So I'm going to connect the gate here to A. And now we can see that A lights up here. I click on this, and now it gives me a little lever here. And this little fader here lets me show how much it's going to actually open it and close it. So now when I hit the keys on my keyboard, watch what happens. It's going ahead and it is starting and stopping it. And I can hit it softer and it's going to be a lesser level. And I can hit it harder and it will be a higher level. Now, we can notice though that the pitch is not changing. Our pitch is not doing anything. So what I need to do, I'm going to put this back to 0 right here. And if I want the pitch to change, what do you think I have to connect up? You're probably right if you said pitch. Hey, it's so weird how that works, right? So I'm going to connect my pitch to my pitch. So what that means is when I play different pitches on my keyboard, it's going to actually send different pitch messages to my oscillator, which is going to play different pitches on my oscillator. So now that I've got these connected, there we go. It's a chromatic scale. I don't want that to be a chromatic scale. Hold on one second. Let's make this a not chromatic scale. Scale. Hold on a second. Come on there. Work with me, baby. Come on. Come on. Ugh, that's annoying. It's like not letting me control. What do I have to hit? It is not controlling. Like the knobs are working. Well, kind of, yeah. The knobs are working. But not steadily. That's really interesting. I wonder why that is. This one's working. Huh. Well, anyway, all right. So I'm stuck in chromatic mode. Whatever. I don't really care that much. It's not that big of a deal. So let me open up my Reaktor again and come down here. Let me close this down. There we go. So you can see my faders down at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so I've got the pitches going. I've got my gate opening up and closing my amplifier there. Next I want to add in is a filter. So I'm going to go over here and grab a filter, and I'm just going to drag it up in here. I'm going to put it right in the middle here. The reason why I'm putting it in the middle is to keep my signal flow in a logical order. So what I want to do is I want to have the oscillator go into the filter, go into the amplifier. I didn't build it in this order right now just to show you how the oscillator and the amplifier work together, but we are going to do it like that. So I'm just going to click on that one right there. I can leave the gate alone because the gate is still opening my amplifier here. And I'm going to go from my output here, output to the input, and the output over here to the input, and I'm going to leave this one alone. So now when I play a note and I turn this knob, there we go, turning the knob, and you can see it actually changes everything right there. And I can hear different types of the filter here. And also I can click on this and I can change my filter, like the low pass, high pass, the different type of filter. All right, so we got that there. Now, you'll also notice that over here, there's low pass, band pass, and high pass outputs here. Let me just kind of describe for a second what's going on here with these blocks. And all the blocks are basically the same. You'll see there's a bunch of things on the left-hand side and there's a bunch of things on the right-hand side. The left-hand side is your inputs and the right-hand side is your outputs. Now, some of these inputs are for audio and some of these inputs are for what we call CV messages, and that means control voltage messages, or just kind of like modulation parameters, modulation controllers. So basically, if it's in the audio spectrum, it's going to have an output and an input. This output and input is for audio stuff. So the out here is the audio signal, that constant tone that's going. and it goes into the input. And that's all audio stuff. But then we have these other ones here on the left-hand side. These are inputs and these are outputs. These inputs here are for modulation data. And the outputs over here, these are also all audio. You kind of have to know that just because these are audio things. So you have to know that. It's a little bit, it's not like maybe different colors might be nice or something like that, but you get used to it. So over here, these are modulation inputs. These are outputs here for this stuff. And some things are modulation outputs and some things are audio outputs. Now, what we're looking at right here is, you can see it says sine, triangle, sawtooth, pulse. And we can actually kind of roll through those different types of waveforms as well. But if you wanted to get those waveforms, just the sine wave or just the triangle or just the sawtooth wave, and use a mixer to mix them together, we can do that right here. So the output is everything, and it's being controlled by this one right here. But if I wanted to get just the sine wave here, let me just do that. I can get just let's say the triangle wave. There's the triangle wave. There's my triangle wave. If I wanted my sawtooth wave, I can get my sawtooth wave. Let me get open up that filter. There we go. Right there's my sawtooth wave. If I wanted just my square wave, it says pulse, but it's the square wave. And I can adjust it right here. What you'll notice is that this is not doing anything. It doesn't change anything because all we're doing is outputting the pulse waveform here. So if I go over here and I go to out, now it'll adjust from this right here. And I can assign this to a knob or something on my keyboard. I can go to MIDI learn, and I can just set it to that right there, and I can, there we go, I can change it with this. Right? So if most of the time you want to go from the output, but sometimes you don't want to go from the output. Like, for example, if all I want to use is the low pass filter, I could go for my low pass filter right over here, and now it's just going to be a low pass filter. So changing this is not, here, let me. Changing this one is not going to change my filter type at all because it's only coming from the low pass. And if I go from the output here, it will change my filter type. So it really kind of depends on what you're trying to do. If you wanted to mix your different filters together using a mixer, you could use these outputs here, and that's going to get you a very different tone. It's just something that a lot of hardware analog gear does have the option for, but not all of it. And that's what I should also say, is that this is not on every single block. It's not on every single piece of hardware. It's just some of them have it, some of them don't. Some of them have this mix thing here where you can switch between stuff. Some of them don't have it. So it really depends on the gear that you're using, and you kind of have to just know that. Once you've learned it though, like today, it should not be a problem going forward in the future. Okay, so the other thing I want to look at though is these modulation parameters here, and that's this one here on the left-hand side. And you can see over here this note in that I've got here. When I play a key on my keyboard, two things happen. I've got gate, I've got pitch. There's also velocity and stuff like that. But the ones we're going to talk about today really is the gate and the pitch. And the gate is your note on and off, and this is sending basically a CC number, the note number. It's not a CC number, it's like a MIDI number here, the gate on-off, note on-off message, and it's going from here over to here, and I'm using it in this modulation input source right here, A and B. Every single block has two modulation input sources, A and B, and you can attach it to either one of them, however you want to do it. Oops, hold on, let me back that up a little bit. There we go. So I can go to gate, A and B, there's B, and if now you can see B is illuminated here. And you can see they all have the A and B, they all have an A and B input over here, so you can basically assign anything to anything in here. Well, what we want to do is if I have the gate assigned over here to A, it's just going to be a hard on, a hard off. And it's just on and off. There's nothing I can do about it. And that's a really boring way to operate this thing. So now is where our modulation sources come into play, the LFO and the envelope. Remember, we talked about the LFO and the envelope the other day. Well, let's go ahead and dive in more to those again today. Let me grab an envelope here, and that's ADSR right here. I'm going to put it down here on the bottom. There we go. There's my screen. We can see everything now. What I want to do is I want to attach the note in from my keyboard so that it connects to my envelope and it tells my envelope to do its thing. So the way I do that is I just connect up the gate to the gate. Here we go. Gate into gate. Boom. There we go. Gate to gate. Now, when I hit my keyboard, we can see my my light flashes up here. And then down here, it's going to do stuff. We're not seeing it do anything yet though. We're going to hear it once we attach this to something. And what we want to do is we want to attach the output over here to A or B over here. Now this is a little bit confusing because the output is, hold on, get my everything on the screen here. The output says output here, and these also say output. There's no audio that's going through this though, and you just kind of have to know that. This is the part that I wish was a little bit different with Reaktor. I wish they had things color coded a little bit more. If you're using Reaktor, you kind of have to know that things are doing sound or things are not doing sound. Now, if you connect up something that's doing sound to something that doesn't do sound, or something that doesn't do sound to something that does do sound, it's not going to break anything. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about anything like that with Reaktor because it's all, they've got it safeguarded and stuff. But it's just not going to work. Just nothing's going to happen. It's not going to be broken. It's just you have to reconnect it to something that does work. So what we're going to do here is the output here is going to go into my A like that. And I click on A. You can see how much it's going to affect it with this little fader right here. That's how much it's going to affect it. So I don't need to look at that. Now, when I hit my key, it's going to do all this stuff here, the attack, the decay, the sustain, and release. It pretty much sounds the same, but we can hear there's a little bit of a softer release on the end. There we go. So we can hear it's got a little bit of it's got a longer release on it. If I want to change that release, I can just adjust this right here. Right? We can do that. We can also adjust the attack so it's a longer attack. I'm going to click on this here to change the shape of the curve. And you can see what it's doing over here on the right-hand side. With a nice long attack. When I let go, it goes straight down. And we can also adjust the sustain so it's not as long, not as high rather. And I'm going to adjust my decay. So we're going to see it go up and down slowly. Watch this. Watch this over here. And when I let go, it does that. And so we can see everything we were looking at the other day. Let me turn my release up so it goes down slowly as well. Okay, here we go. Goes all the way up, comes back down to about the middle. And then when I let go, it goes down slowly again. That's because I've got my attack, decay, and sustain, attack, decay, and release times turned up. And I've got the sustain right there at 28. If I put it here at 50, 50 is not right in the middle, which is kind of weird, but there it is. So here, let's do that. Let's turn the decay attack down a little bit. So you can see it going through all the different parts of that ADSR filter. And this is one of the things that I really like about using blocks, is just kind of does illustrate things for us that we've learned and kind of shows it to us in a way that makes a little bit more sense, I think. So we've got this in here. This is great. This is a really basic sound, nothing really interesting yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get my attack quick, faster. So you can see it goes immediately all the way up to the loud part. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my decay down so it's also faster. And you can see the kind of point on the beginning of it. I'm going to turn this release down a little bit too. turn my sustain level down a little bit. There we go. And you can hear each note has a little bit of a point on the beginning. That's because I've got my sustain down, I've got my decay kind of quick, because remember the decay is the point, is the time it takes to go from the loudest part down to the sustain part. So there we go. All right. So that's our envelope. Now let's get this LFO action going on here. Here's our LFO right over here. Boop. And you can see it's pretty cool. If I need something else, I just throw it in there, right? So this is why modular synths are really cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this LFO over here. And the LFO, I'm going to use this to control my filter here. So I'm going to get the output of the LFO. You can see there's only the output. So I got this output right here. I'm going to grab this and drag it over to A right here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on A and I'm going to say, I want A to adjust my cutoff right here. So I'm going to turn this up. And as I turn it up, you're going to see that little thing start to move right there. If I put this down here in the middle somewhere, now we can hear it. And how much it affects it is based on this little one right here. So if I have it down in the middle, if I double click it, it's not affecting it at all. And if I turn it up, like that, and if I adjust my speed, it's going to make it faster or slower. Pretty darn cool, right? And I can adjust it to make it more, like a wider range. I can change the shape of my LFO by clicking and dragging like that. Like that. Okay, so we can do all sorts of neat stuff. Now you can see that this is constantly moving as soon as I hit the, as soon as I let go, it's still moving here. We're just not hearing anything. The reason why we're not hearing anything is because I'm not playing any key on my keyboard, so the envelope is not open. If I wanted to, I can set a reset button using my gate over here. I can drag another cable down right here and have it go to the reset over here. What that means is that every time I play a key on my keyboard, it's going to reset that LFO, so it's going to start it over back to the beginning. And I can make it faster. Like that. I can do that kind of stuff there. I can, let's see. I can adjust the phase of it so it starts at a different point in the phase. Let's go ahead and here, let me turn off the reset here and let's show you the phase. I'm going to go ahead and use this. Let's use this one here. So let's listen to it. So there it is. Let's get the reset back. So if I move the phase over here, it adjusts where my start point is. And you just kind of sit there and mess with it until it looks like how you want it to look. Or until it sounds like how you want it to sound. right? So we can do that. And if let me go ahead and program that in real quick, actually. So I'm just going to go ahead and, come on, let's say move you down here like this. Okay. All right, so I got this little line going. And if I mess around with these, so I keep going back to the beginning there, that's interesting. My computer's like a little bit weird today. Something already crashed on it when I started things up this morning. I should have just like restarted the computer again. Anyway, so now if I move the phase, we're gonna hear the start point change. And all I'm doing is moving the start point and it's changing where the filter is. And I can make this even faster. Pretty cool, right? Right? Some neat stuff. And as you can see, there's nothing even going on right now. It's like super, super basic stuff. So it's really, yeah, it's fascinating to me how cool you can make things sound with just a couple of little bits and bobs here. Now, let's say that I wanted a little bit more to go on. I wanted another LFO to control the pitch of my oscillator. Well, that's easy to do. I just go over here, I grab another LFO, and I just drag it in here, and now I can control the pitch of my oscillator. I'm just going to go from the output here to the input here on A. I'm going to adjust this, click it, so it goes up here on my, yeah, it's like a Stranger Things. Yep. Yep. Although, I mean, that just kind of impresses upon you how basic the Stranger Things sounds really were. There's a lot going on with it. I'm not trying to like discount that music. It's great music, but it's not over the top with like a million sounds. It's just like a basic analog synth, and they just did some cool music with it. So here's this. So you can do some really interesting stuff there with that. I mean, interesting, I don't know, it's weird sounding. But we don't have to attach it to this. We could attach it to other stuff. So we're using this square wave here. Let's attach this to the pulse width here. And to do that, we don't even need to re-cable anything here. We just need to go in here to our pulse width and move this knob right here, this fader here. So now, it's not going to adjust the pitch, it's going to adjust the waveform type. And I can adjust my gate here, so it'll re-trigger it every time. Okay, so you can start to see how we can manipulate the sound in any kind of way that we want, and also even ways that we might not even understand necessarily. You can just start connecting things up and really kind of start experimenting with this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this one because I didn't like what that one was doing at all, and put this back. I'm going to put this back to 0. I'm going to put this pulse width back here. There we go. So this is the basic parts of a synthesizer. We've got the oscillator, we've got the filter, we've got the amplifier, we've got our envelope, and we've got our LFO. All right, so now that we've talked about the basics of this, let's start making it a little bit more complex. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to add more oscillators and stuff in. This is the easiest way to make it a little bit more complex. Come on, computer. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to make this bigger down here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some more oscillators in. So I'm going to move some things around here. I'm going to put this on its own little row down here. I'm going to get these envelope and the LFO down here. I'm going to leave the filter and the amplifier up here because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mixer in here. I'm going to put 3 oscillators in here so we can get kind of multiple oscillators going on so we can do some stuff. So first thing I'm going to do is grab my bento mix over here on the left hand side and drag it and put it right here. Boom. And now I'm going to take the output of this oscillator right here and I'm going to drag it into input number 1 right here. There's 4 inputs here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4-part mixer. And then the output of the mixer, I'm going to put it right over here to my filter. There we go. We can see the filter is still kind of moving back and forth because of this LFO right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this oscillator here, double click it, and just call it oscillator OSC 1. Boom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and let's duplicate it. Let's see, am I going to crash things if I do that? No, okay. And so I duplicate it. Now when I duplicate it, it's going to go ahead and keep, here I'm just going to actually I'm going to unattach this. I'm going to go ahead and call this one oscillator 2. Oops. That's right, it doesn't work like that. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate this one, boom. And then I'm going to call this one oscillator 3. So we have 3 oscillators here. You can see they automatically all connected up with their pitches here because I duplicated it. And now I'm going to go from number 1 over here to input number 1. I'm going to go from number 2 to input number 2. And I'm going to go from number 3 to input number 3. And now, if I hit play, it's playing them. There's no sound happening because we don't have anything, no levels turned up. So I'm going to turn this level up here. And I'm going to change the waveform on this one here to be a sine wave. I'm going to put it up an octave to 12. And now I'm going to turn the level up. Let's put it up 2 octaves. There we go. And now let's put this one, let's change it to a sawtooth wave. Put it up an octave, or put it up. There we go. And you can hear it's a very different sound, but it's still related to the other sound. And all we've done is just added in 2 more oscillators and I just changed them into different pitches. That's literally all we've done. Change the pitches, change the waveform type a little bit. And if I mess around with these waveform types, and you just kind of mess around with them until you get a sound that you actually like. right? And we can also pull in something from over here to like the sync input, and that's going to change it even more, or FM input. So let's go ahead from the output here to the FM input. And this is one of the cool things about Reaktors. Because it's digital, you can actually have the output going to many, many different inputs. And let's grab here, let's hear what that sounds like. Let's turn up the input here. All right, that's pretty interesting sound. Let's grab the output and have it go to the sync over here. Yeah, you can hear it's changing things a lot. Even if I turn everything down, and if I adjust the pitch, whoops, not that. If I adjust this pitch here, it's gonna really make things sound weird. Like really, really strange stuff. You can get into some really strange stuff when you start messing with FM and pitch and sync and stuff. Some really cool bell tones. We can make the sounds disappear. But if I pull this one down, everything else is going to sound pretty normal, actually. Right? So you can do some really weird stuff with this without that much actually connecting up. And like, I don't really, like personally, I don't really understand how FM or sync works. I kind of, like I could kind of explain it. Like sync is like the one waveform is resyncing the other waveform. FM is modulating the source. I don't really know how it works. I never went that deep into it. I just know that if you connect up the output of an oscillator into the FM and you adjust the amount and you change the pitch and stuff, it ends up sounding really interesting and cool and weird. FM synthesis is actually pretty complex stuff, and I never really learned how to mess with it. But like, I know enough that's like, oh, this is pretty cool to kind of fiddle around with bits and bobs here and there. But it's just really, you know, once you kind of get the basic concept of this stuff, just kind of put them together and see what comes out can be some really interesting things, okay? Shadyville DJs, Hustle Squad DJs. I don't know what those are. All right. Oh, you're just kind of saying things, aren't you, Joseph? Okay, Joseph, you're about to get banned. Unless you want to stop putting weird stuff into my chat. There's a free FM synth Dex that we can maybe mess around with at some point. I mean, if you want to, you're not like, I don't really know much about FM synthesis though, Carl. Unfortunately, it's something we should talk about in the Zoom chat or something like that. Because honestly, I'm not an FM guy. Like I think maybe you'd mentioned FM. I know somebody's mentioned FM to me at some point. Some people are into FM synthesis. I think maybe you'd mentioned it to me at some point in the beginning of the module. But I'm not really an FM synthesis guy. I don't really know that much about it. If we open up this Dex program, I mean, I could show you where the filter is, probably stuff like that. But honestly, I'm not the guy to talk to about FM synthesis. I'm more subtractive synthesis, granular stuff, all the other things. FM synthesis has never been that interesting to me. Yeah, I have a DX21, but we're not really friends. I mean, the problem with FM synthesis and those DXs, the old, the DX series stuff and the TX, like I had a TX802 and that I worked with for a long time. The problem with those is not that The problem with those is that the screen on it is so small. What I would recommend that for you, Carl, is that you actually get you try to find a controller software that lets you control the synth, and then see how that works for you to actually see it on a bigger screen, and see if maybe you can get friendlier with it with like that. FM8 from Native Instruments is a lot easier to use if you have Ableton Suite. The operator synth is actually it's a lot easier to use, and then there's also the DX7 emulation from Arturia, which is also a lot easier to use because they have a bigger screen on there. So, MIDI-Quest. Yeah, MIDI-Quest would be good for something like that, and it's like relatively inexpensive stuff. And that would really help out using that DX21 because you have access to the guts of it. But just make sure that somebody has made a DX21 program for it, or else you're going to have to make one yourself, and that's also really tough stuff. So unfortunately, like I said, I'm not really the person to talk to about FM synthesis. So we could talk, but I'm not going to be that much help. All right. So we've got our oscillators 1, 2, and 3. We've got our mixer. We've got our filter. We've got our amplifier. Now, what you can see is that this is a pretty basic setup, meaning that all of these oscillators are going into the one filter here, and they're going this filter right here. So they're going to the mixer, and they're going to the filter and the amplifier. We could make this more complex if we wanted to, by saying, all right, each one of these oscillators is going to get its own filter and its own amplifier. And this is kind of like what's going on with here. Let me put all this stuff back over here. You can really make this as complicated as you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and put here the ADSR and the LFO, and I'm just going to go ahead and do this quickly. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this one, and let's drag this one down here. I'm going to duplicate it again and drag this one down here. And then this LFO, we're going to duplicate this one and drag this one down here. And then this one down here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this filter and we're going to put the filter here. And we're going to go ahead and disconnect this stuff here. I'm going to disconnect let's see, I'm going to disconnect all this. And we're going to disconnect the mixer as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the order of these things a little bit so we have a little bit more control over stuff. So this filter here, let's do this. Let's go to here, put that one there, put this one here. And now we're going to do one more. Duplicate that. Okay. Now you can see I've got the same string of things across down here. We're going to take all of these and have the outputs of these filters. So I'm going to connect all the outputs to the inputs here. Output to input. Output to input down here. And then all these filters are going to come out into my mixer here. So we're actually doing things a little bit in a different order. So we have more control over all of our different sounds. There we are. Boop. I'm going to turn these down. And let's just go ahead and cable these up here. So I got the outputs, and here the outputs of my LFO are going to go over here to my filters. And these should all be basically the same right now, but I'm just going to adjust these so they're different speeds. There you go. So you got one that's going fast, this is going slow, and a medium, and this one's going slow. And now if I push play on this, you can hear the sound totally changes. And now I can mix this. Right, and it's a little bit too weird for this. I mean, I've got like a whole bunch of things happening here. But it's kind of just an illustration of like that you can do this kind of stuff. So now we've got all these oscillators have their own LFO, their own envelope here for, let me see here, these. Oh, this way. Well, hold on a second. Let's actually do this. Let's put an amplifier on each one. Here, sorry. Let's connect this up a little bit differently. And this is what I'm creating here. This connection that I'm creating here is actually kind of similar to how massive works, which I'll show you here in just a little bit here. The possibilities are absolutely endless, Alon. You're totally right. Here, I've got this in the wrong kind of order here. Let's do this. Output of this one. Here, I didn't set it up how I wanted it to be. There we go. So let's do this. And here, let me duplicate this a couple times. Pull this one down. Pull this one down. Pull this one across. And it's really like the applications are endless. But once you understand what you're looking at here, it's not actually that complicated. And that's kind of what I want to illustrate to you, is that even though it looks complicated, it's really just the same thing 3 times. Here we go. This is what I wanted to do. Pull this up here like this. Come on. Come on. There we go. Now the output of the filter will go in here to this one. The output of the mixer. So now when I hit play, wait, we're not, okay, I didn't like gate. Wait, the envelope is now, there we go. Envelope, envelope, and envelope. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop this one from being all crazy. I'm going to stop these LFOs from doing crazy things here. And we're going to use this here. We're going to use it to shape the sound. So we got this one here. Oh wait, where are we? Oh, here, why are you not doing, hold on a second, it's not, okay, oh, the envelope's not connected here. This one, there we go, there, boom, boom, okay. So there's this one here. I'm gonna make this one into a different waveform. Make that into like a square wave here. And I think there's a way to not show our cables. There we go. So if I don't want to show the cables, I can just click on this button up here. I'm not really sure that this is a button that you have access to with the player or not. But in the real, like this is the full version of Reaktor 6, so I do have access to it. So now I'm going to go ahead and let's make this a little bit louder. And let's make a point on the beginning of each thing. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one up here, number 3. And with number 3, I'm going to adjust my envelope. So you can hear it's just a little point on the beginning. Let's put it up. There we go. Let's put it up an octave. And now let's take this one here, number 2. Change that. There we go. And I can really change the sound up a lot. And you can even connect these up to to faders and stuff. So here, let me set this to this one. Oh, it's gonna, hold on. There we go. It's not gonna, forget it. Stop it. My thing is, well, now I think I just messed it up. Hold on a second, let's see if I can get that out of there. The knob on my keyboard is acting up. Let's configure it. So here's this one here. This one here. Cool. And let's turn this off. Yep. Here. Turn you off, 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 off. There we go. Okay, so I got these over here, so I can connect these up to my keyboard a little bit easier. Yeah, they're just automatically connected up. There we go. Cool, much better. Okay, now, so and I can just control this, and I can change the sound. You can see how much I'm controlling that sound. Right, which is pretty darn cool, I think. And even though it took like a little bit of time, we've only been working at this for an hour, and I've been explaining everything. So, you know, and it's not like super crazy, but the sonic possibilities are great with this kind of stuff. And we haven't even really started to explore all the stuff you could do with this. We're just kind of showing you basic things. So there's a lot of possibilities in here. That's kind of my point here. And that's the basics of Reaktor blocks. There's a lot of different types of blocks that you can get into, and things you can try out. So in the next section we're going to talk about here in a second, we're going to talk about like sequencers and stuff like that, and bringing sequencers in here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to stop this recording right here.